All right, and we're live. All right, everybody, we're live here from the Attention Era Media Studios, overlooking beautiful downtown Milwaukee. You're watching hour 4 of 24 hours of live Google Hangouts, covering a wide range of topics for community managers kind of all around the world. We're celebrating year 5 of Community Manager Appreciation Day. This is our 3rd year doing the Hangouts that we've all worked together to organize. Thank you to all of our organizers, and it takes an army of people to pull this off today. So we'd like to just give a quick little special shout out to our award sponsors. That's BTC Revolutions, Higher Logic, Flockler, My Community Manager, Online Community Results, socialmedia.org, and Sprout Social. So we're the gang from My Community Manager. My name is Brew, co-producer at CMGR Hangout.
Hey everyone, I'm Sherry, and I co-produce here with Brew.
And I am Dom, and I was hitchhiking, and Sherry picked me up on the way to Milwaukee. But actually, I just like hanging out with these guys. So.
True.
And Dom, we have a bunch of awards we're giving away for CMAD. Can you tell us a little bit about the first award today?
Yeah, the first award we are actually giving out in approximately 9 hours. On a panel there, we are going to be, that's the fourth strong with this one, so best new community manager. And we're going to be giving that one away in about 9 hours or so.
Cool. All right. So this panel's topic is, when is a community really just an audience? And Annie, we'll hand it over to you, and good luck. Thanks.
Thank you, guys, and thank you everybody who is watching, either live or later on. And of course my panelists. I wanted to start by having everyone introduce themselves, telling us a little bit about you and your community and what it is that you do. So let's start with Rafe.
Hi Annie. Well, I work with a group of startups and corporate companies. We run various accelerators. So my community is mainly involved with helping those startups join those accelerators, encouraging them to join, help them go through the process, and then once they're part of an accelerator, just doing my best to make the community work and help them through the process.
Thank you. Molly.
Hi. Well, I am a science communicator. My community call themselves Space Tweets, people who are into space on Twitter. They're a very passionate community. Yeah. I work on handling social media strategy and all these sort of Twitter, Facebook, Flickr sort of things, and just engaging in general.
Okay, great. Matt.
Sure. I'm Matt Laurenceau. I'm with BMC Software. We started community engagement actually 15 years ago, and things have been growing in many exciting ways. So I'm here to represent BMC communities with my friend Anirban.
Wonderful.
All right. So yeah, I'm Anirban. I joined BMC as a front-end web developer, so very different skill sets. But I've been kind of under the wing of Matt for past 5 years and grown my way into this exciting space. And we are essentially a large technology community, but we have a social community dedicated, which is why I mentioned BMC Social, and I help manage that community and engage audience on lesser tech, more social business topics. Thanks.
Good stuff. Okay, I am the community manager on eToro Open Book, which is a community centered around financial trading, so online trading of currencies and commodities and the stock market, basically. So yeah, that's what I do. So we'll start with our first question then, which is, what separates an audience from a community to all of you? Who'd like to start?
Well, I guess that Matt speaking here. I guess that an audience is pretty often passive, whereas a community is engaging. He's helping crowdsourcing things and making things happen as a whole virtual team. with different backgrounds.
I agree. I think it's all about interaction. I think you can have a high following of members, but if you're not having conversations with them, if they're not participating, then all they're doing is listening, like an audience does.
Yeah. Good. Okay. For me, it's basically the same thing. It's the difference between actually broadcasting whatever you want to say versus interacting with them and, having a two-way conversation. So taking it to the next question, as a community manager, is your objective to sell or to engage? Because it's a little difficult, I think, to kind of segment the two. What do you say?
Well, it's Rafe speaking. For me, it's both because I'm taking people through a process. So in the first part of what I'm doing is partly selling because I try to encourage people to join my community and I want them to take part in the different accelerators I run. So that is the selling aspect, but I'm also engaging with them and answering their questions and writing articles and doing blog posts and things and having an engagement in that way. And then as the process goes on and we build a better relationship, then it does become much more about a community. But I think the first part is there's definitely some selling in the beginning.
I so agree with what Rafe said, and he put it into perfect words that internally often you have to sell social business and this new way of being in touch, but that's not enough. You have to come up with more and more ideas to keep people engaged. Otherwise, people might just subscribe, they might just create an account, but things often fall flat. We've seen that so many times.
I think you can do both. While my main instinct would be to engage, I think both selling and engagement should be implemented within your overall communication strategy. You can do both.
Can I try something that is pretty arguable? Like, we want to sell, at the end of the day, let's be honest, we want to sell ideas, we want to sell products, we want to sell our personal branding, but we do it through engagement.
Yeah.
Definitely. Good. Okay, so do you actually believe that you can do both simultaneously? So to engage, basically to sell?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they would be. They would be implemented within your overall communication strategy. So you would be doing You would be engaging while you were selling. You would be selling while you're engaging, just as just as Matt said.
Yeah.
It's like we're in a world of engagement marketing, whereas in the past it was what Sales Godin calls interruption marketing. Like, they were, call centers were calling you at home and saying, "Oh, I want to sell you that," and I have no need. Whereas here in a more engagement marketing world, we try to identify pains from people around the world that we can find on LinkedIn, Twitter, directly in a trade show, and then we'll engage with them and they begin to find out how learning from our community can help them win. So at the end of the day, there's something that is sold. There is a product that is sold. There is trust that is sold.
Great. Any other comments on that? No? Okay. So the third question was, how, if at all, do you get to know your members? I think we're all from very different kinds of communities, be it online, help, message boards. So what do each of you do to get to know these people?
Let's talk with community manager terminology here. Beers are the best way to get to know people. Like hanging out in a real face-to-face fashion and spending time together without any barrier. Yeah, sharing things is the best way to know each other. Then these hangouts are obviously terrific, and what most of us do most of the time, like online engagement, is probably the less social way to interact, but it's the best we have. Far better than email or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, interacting with these people, knowing them better is and beers are good for that.
There I would have to differ from you because my community is one that is online, a very passionate online community, self-called the Space Tweets. Through them, they are very passionate about things that happen in space, in science, and they're more than happy to share it with everybody else, to talk about it with everybody else. And there is a community online that when they meet in person, it only just enhances the connection they have online when they meet in person, but they still have the same strength of connection they do online as they would if they met up, say, in real life, or they had social meetups and that sort of thing. But yeah, you can have quite a large following on the internet, and they can be quite powerful.
Oh, sure, and that's what we'll do. But do you have meetups, Molly?
Yes.
Okay.
They're not always arranged, and the funny thing is, they're not always arranged by me or by other people in my team. They are actually arranged by people themselves. They are what I would call rogue meetups, because they're not arranged by us, but they have our minimal support. They ask us to join on board, and it's quite amazing what people can do without our help.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, for us, I think everything kind of starts online, and then we do actually end up having quite a lot of Skype conversations and Hangouts and things to sort of develop further relations and qualify certain things as necessary. And then, yeah, we do hold speaker series during our accelerators and have different meetups and things. So then, yeah, it comes offline completely, and we do things around interesting people. We try and get great speakers to do things and bring people together. So it all depends. But yeah, I mean, I think being part of community manager is you're creating communities in all sorts of different spaces, and you're just trying to make sure it all works and everybody benefits from it.
Good.
I'd like to go further on Molly's. Oh, go ahead, Anibal.
I've tried it the other way sometimes. Sometimes I want to know your business, or the reason why a certain team is engaged in communities from the angle of helping you do that better. And it's the first kind of formal introduction, so to say, and then get to know the people. That's another way I've found very effective to get to know people associated.
Okay, Matt?
Going quickly further on Molly's statement about online engagement, it's obviously what we all do. Some online engagement actually happen behind the scene, like in back channel communities. So the way we work with Aniban to learn from each other and take the right decisions with moderators, and moderators include BMC employees, but also partners, also customers, and we all interact in a shared secret area. So we do that obviously online. Sometimes we'll voice over IP or phone calls one-to-one, but these behind-the-scene conversation actually help the public interaction to be even better.
Yeah. Great. The next question, which is following a little bit on this, is how do you actually leverage what you know about these people to essentially meet your bottom line? So how do you use what you know? To say you've spent that time to get to know them, be it online, offline, one-on-one, what do you do with that information, if anything?
I can begin. So just some quick background. I used to be pre-sales. Like I was selling. I was a technical engineer selling BMC products before working on the community. And when I was pre-sale, I was listening to a customer or prospect saying, "Oh, I have this pain," and I was like, "Hey, but product A or product B can fix that." And going too quickly on finding a solution was not the best way. Like there was some rejection. Whereas what I've learned since is that spending time engaging indeed and learning more from the pains of the users is great, because you collect information And then you can connect this user with others who can help them win. And you're not the one selling the product, the idea, the program, the project. It's another user, another customer, telling to this customer is in pain that, hey, they used to have the same issue and they fixed it quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I currently do very often.
Okay.
I think you can use the information to create, I would say, better features or more personalized features, more appealing features that increase awareness of your overall goal. You can reward your members for their participation by showcasing their stories or their efforts. Usually by doing this, you can create a community that is more connected. An example of this is we have quite a few competitions, quite a few competitions where we encourage space fans, people who take photos of what's the word? I've forgotten it so soon. People, amateur astronomers. That's the word I was looking for. Where we encourage them to, take photos, to send them in. We feature them. I think this is a great way to leverage the information, leverage what you know about your members. It's a great way to get them involved. Participation is key, and by doing this, you create a community that is more connected because they're involved. They're not just listening, they're actually involved in what you're doing, and they want to take part, they want to share the message, they want to tell everybody. And that's great. That's really great.
Great. Anybody else?
Well, I also think that when you have an audience, that you can see that some people in your community are going to be sharing more information than others, and they're the ones who also participate in other communities, and you can see what other communities they're interacting with through things like Twitter, and what conferences they're speaking at, or what engagements they've been to, and then from those you can leverage that information to start other conversations about what they spoke about or what they enjoyed at a particular event, or so you can sort of search the web as well to know what your community is doing and leverage that to create further engagement for your community.
Right. I would imagine that with the startups that you work with, you would have to kind of work off what you know about them to get them what they need, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, everything, what we do is quite bespoke, so it definitely is, part of it is understanding where they're at in their sort of growth stage, what they need, what they're looking for. So there is, yeah, quite a lot of back and forth on that. But a lot of that also happens in person. So once we've got them like applied and engaged completely, but yeah, in the first stages, there's sort of putting people at ease and getting to understand exactly what we're doing, how we can help them, and looking to solve any issues that they may have. Definitely.
Good. Any other comments? No? No? Okay. So the fifth question is a little bit on what Molly touched on about members getting to know each other. So my question is, in your individual communities, how do people get to know each other? Or is it all centered around you? Because sometimes I think we do find situations where the community manager is basically the axis of the community, but it's important, of course, for people to get to know each other and rely on one another rather than coming in just for you. So who would like to start? Matt?
So I can start for our community. So we have a point system, all across the community. That's like your first point of recognition, so to say. And then we drive people to keep their profiles and bios up to date all the time. So when you mouse over on people's names, they're hyperlinked, and you kind of get to see the top 3 attributes like name, company name, and what's their job title. That's where they start, and normally people with a large number of points tend to have more attention from the community. And the other important KPI we see are number of followers. where we have the influence is directly measured by the number of followers, right? And we don't, like in our community, we are like above 50,000 users, registered users, right? So we cannot, Matt and I cannot be the central access, although we plan from the back end, we launch, and we stay in behind, but it would be impossible for us to kind of drive conversations. So people know each other and connect and go forward from there.
And to this very topic of community versus audience, people get to know each other when they begin to interact. So somebody shares a pain. Pretty often, let's be honest, people begin because they have an issue, and then they may share their pain, or they may read a blog post that enlightens them. So anyway, they begin to engage, and conversation begins. And we were talking with Animan in the past days. We had a couple of hangouts like that around the globe, and people were sharing that the answers they get, the terrific business answers or technical answers they get, are from people they have never heard about. They don't know the country, they don't know the company, but the answer comes from there, and they begin to interact and get to know each other.
Okay. And the Hangouts that you have with the BMC community, is that people coming forward saying that they want to be part of this, or do you reach out to different people and invite them?
We actually never had a program to attract people. The only thing that attracts people is content, cool content. Like we have terrific long tail SEO. When people search, complex strings on Google or Bing, to be fair, when people search stuff, they land on us. They land on this discussion, on this blog post. So we have content coming from customers, from partners, or for BMC employees, product managers who blog post their news and visions. And people find good content, create an account, begin to engage.
Great. And do you have any meetups that you're
Yeah, and that was my point on the earlier conversation with Molly about beers. Meetups. So obviously we do online interaction, like all day long. I'm on Skype on BMC communities and mobile and stuff. But meetups are so terrific to share more, have more private stuff. Like Molly said about meetups having only end users meeting, not even anybody from the community board or whatever. And people get to know each other and share more, and then it reflects on the online engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest meetup we have is a yearly BMC worldwide user event where customers and partners and some BMC employees around the world meet. Last year in Orlando, this year in Vegas, and there they share a lot, and then they share even more on the community.
Great.
We've also had these. We've started to have more of these local face-to-face meetups. Like we could put together a physical face-to-face meetup here in Pune a couple of weeks back, and suddenly people shared with us that they always wanted to meet. They didn't have something like this, so we realized that there was a big void for something like this. And suddenly, Matt and I, we concluded a series of Hangouts. Matt covered EMEA and Americas, and I covered APAC. And suddenly, everybody now joined the India user group to learn how we designed and delivered this meetup. And they want to have meetups in Australia. And Matt, you introduced somebody from Calvin from Africa.
Yeah.
He wants to learn and how to organize a meetup in Africa from a meetup in India. So we are seeing a huge excitement around physical meetups this new year.
Okay.
Rafa, what did you say about physical meetups?
Well, for us, what we do is we do physical accelerators. So during those programs, they tend to be between 2 and 3 months long. We have an event series, but like our whole community is invited, as well as other startups and entrepreneurs within London. So those kind of things, they either just kind of Techstars type beer and pizza type things, or they're like proper talks with interesting people, and we try and bring people together and and have a and then have this sort of session afterwards with beers and people talking and Q&As, and it all sort of contributes to what we're trying to achieve, and I think really helps to get people to understand the community in London out of startups.
Something key, by the way, between an audience and a community is authenticity. When you share like marketing bullshit, you get an audience. That's all you get. But when you have authentic stories and conversations going on, then people begin to engage. So what you said about the pizza and everything, it's real stuff. Nothing formal. Just people, take it easy and begin to share and learn far more.
I mean, I think that's definitely what you're trying to achieve. I mean, there's so many great people out there, and they really do want the support from a sort of physical place to meet, and I think they really appreciate being brought together and have the opportunity to work with and meet other startups and other entrepreneurs, and you're working with a community that all have similar problems with getting funding or solving a particular issue or not being able to hire a good enough developer or having people who aren't paying their bills on time or everywhere. There's so many things in common, and it's really great because lots of people can help each other and say, oh, I've used this program, I've used this person, and that really benefits the community to have that sort of easy interaction, which is much harder to achieve online.
Good.
Hey Annie, you're orchestrating a lot of things, and that's terrific. Could you share your perspective on this very question here today?
Sure. So my community, we're about 4 million strong, and basically we're all over the world except the US at present. So the meetups that we have, I find, are mostly in Asia, and we have absolutely no involvement in them, which is amazing because usually they happen and then we find out afterwards, and it's just really cool to see. But yeah, our members definitely get to know each other because while they're coming into the open book basically to talk about what's happening in the financial markets, they also, through us as their broker, have the ability to copy one another. So basically to allocate a part of their equity to pick up whatever somebody else is doing with their money. And through that, of course, they learn to trust each other and communicate with each other because they're essentially trusting that person with their money or to make money for them. So it's really cool to see that all these very different people from very different backgrounds are coming together every day and, just sharing their lives. We have featured members who are called popular investors, and they're the people that have, several hundreds, if not thousands, of copiers. And generally, we find that these people are like little sub-communities within the bigger picture. So every day when our people are signing on, they may not even know who I am, but they're coming in because their popular investor is talking today, or they know that there is an economic event today that may move the market, and they're coming in to find out what these people are saying. So the best thing for me is to see these traders actually communicate back with their copiers, and that's essentially how they get to know each other in my little community. Yeah.
So Annie, could I ask you another question? Because obviously what you're doing is finance-based and market-based. So surely your role as community manager in that kind of environment means that you're coming across a lot of specific language. So does that mean that you've had to teach yourself to know what certain things mean and certain economic structures, or did you know it all already? Or Actually, as a community.
It's I started in the industry a few years before I actually joined this community. And when I joined the company, I had a couple roles before I moved to the community team. So I was already familiar because I'd already interacted with customers through sales roles, through operations roles. So I was already kind of used to that information. That was, beforehand I was the one teaching the customers how to trade, and now I'm kind of sitting back and just letting them teach each other. So yeah, it is very specific and it is very exhausting sometimes. I don't know how much you follow it, but the last few weeks have been pretty chaotic between various banks and stocks and all these things. But yeah, it's good fun and it's very interesting. It's very interesting to see these very different people because we do, the community is basically people who don't have a background in finance and they're coming in here to learn in an easier way, in a more intuitive way through social. So it's really cool to see very normal people coming in and making really good profits on something they didn't understand before they found us.
But does that mean then, as the community manager, you have to moderate what language you use to make sure it's accessible to everyone?
Language? Do you mean like financial terms?
Yeah, in terms of yeah.
Sometimes I do have to be a bit conscious of it because there will be times when I will post an update, let's say on market hours because of an event, or I let people know that a certain report is coming out, which any veteran will know is important for volatility, but some new people may come in and not quite understand what I'm on about. So sometimes I have to kind of keep it basic and explain why I'm saying this. But yeah, I'm sometimes guilty of just throwing it out there and assuming that people know. But the great thing is that when somebody comes in and asks a question, usually somebody else will jump in if I'm not around and answer the question for them. So.
Yeah, and this answer will educate many others who may have been too shy to ask a question.
Exactly. I'm finding more and more that people, whatever I do share in terms of educational info or very specific content, other people will share where they wouldn't normally go and post something like that.
I like that. You put educator in your job description.
Something like that, yeah. Do we have any more comments on that, on this question?
Well, I was thinking about what you've just said, all of you, that is. I was thinking in one way I am the axis because I'm the community manager, but in another way they are the ones who share a common interest in space and I'm just the hub of information. And something that really impresses me is that we started up things like NASA Social and ESA's Social Space. We started up these meetups, and our end users or our members of our community have taken these into their own hands, and they've made their own rogue meetups, like Space Up, which is a completely self-hosted meetup, and that's something that's taken a life of its own from something that we produced, but no longer have a main role in or a main part in. And it's really amazing how our community can more or less take things out of into their own hands and just start something pretty amazing, pretty brilliant, with minimal support from you. Yeah. It's quite cool.
Great, good. Okay, anything else on the topic of getting to know people or people getting to know people? Okay, so we'll move on to our sixth question, which is what metrics, bearing in mind that we're talking community versus audience, do you think are important when measuring the health of your community? Anyone?
We visit that fairly regularly, right, Matt?
Well, I can try. So definitely what I and we try to care a lot on is not number of not number of active users, but number of engaged users. Mm-hmm. How many people indeed are not only lurking. It's good to have people lurking, people learning, but it's even better when people share because it grows in a viral manner. Education grows in a viral manner. So the number of people interacting is definitely, if we have one KPI, that's the one we try to influence.
Okay. Molly?
I agree. I think it's more about quality and not quantity. Sure, you can have a large number of comments, but first of all, you should look at what, the number of comments you're receiving, but also look at what they're saying in the comments, what kind of things they're saying. A liked Facebook post or a favorited tweet is just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. It doesn't tell you much about your community. It doesn't tell you much about what they're talking about, what they're thinking, what they want to know. It doesn't tell you much about anything at all. It all depends on what they're saying to you. I think it's better to measure your response or measure your community's health in a sort of quantitative manner. Don't just base it or judge it on the number of likes you get or the number of faves and retweets that you get from posts. It's all about what they're saying to you.
Good. Ray?
Well, I mean, obviously it's a combination of things, but clearly quality is what you're going for, what you really want, and that can be evidenced in the kind of discussions you're having. I mean, the favorites and things help to an extent because it is something that you can physically see, whereas everything else is much harder to actually measure. But as soon as things start going silent, then yeah, things are unhealthy and you need to change. And what's important is keeping that momentum going and making sure that people are interacting and having responsiveness to what you're doing and what's happening and trying to keep that quality there, which isn't always easy. And obviously through the year there's going to be different spikes depending on what you're doing in that kind of engagement, and it's just about having an understanding of your community and how it fits with what you do in that sort of 12-month time frame.
And Rafa, how do you quantify quality? Quality is so subjective.
Well, I think exactly the thing. You can't quantify it, but because it's what you do all the time, you know your community, and you just have to be comfortable with understanding when it's going well and when it's not going well through the conversations you're having, through what's happening online, offline, and you just get to know when it's going wrong. And I don't think you need to quantify it, because if you're a good community manager, you can see it and you're aware of it the whole time. And as soon as it starts going wrong, you can feel it. So the only reason you need to quantify it is if one of your superiors wants to know. And then you can always start taking screenshots of good conversations or show photos from events. So, I mean, there's always ways around it, and you can definitely build their confidence in that the community is healthy or not through those kind of tools.
And I've got a question for you guys, for you all, about this kind of quality thing. Like, if we find a good conversation, it's cool, and we definitely highlight that to management, stakeholders, or whatever. But this is anecdotal evidence. Do you guys go all the way to broader sentiment analysis platforms, so that it's you follow big trends and not only one or two examples?
I mean, go for it, Manu. So
is it Rafe?
Yeah.
As Ray said, you can't quite quantify quality, but you can sort of determine. It all depends on the number of things. There are a huge number of elements to consider. You can just look at quality, but like I said, you can't just look at faves and retweets alone. But they do count when you are, looking at the overall situation. They count as well as the negative comments, as well as the positive comments. It's all something that is all taken into consideration. In general, you don't just look at one thing and say, okay, we're going to look at the number of comments and say this is something. You're going to look at the number of comments, the number of faves, the number of retweets, the number of interactions, and this in general will give you an idea of your community. You can't just say, like as Ray said, it's all implemented. It's all different things that you that you take into consideration. It's not just one thing. So yeah, we do focus on quality, of course, but that doesn't mean that the quantitative metrics don't count. It just means that when it comes to social media or when it comes to community building, it's not just about the numbers, but they do count, but it's not just about the numbers.
Rafe, what did you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, with sentiment analysis, I think that's a really interesting thing. I mean, the only thing we currently use is Cloud to get kind of an idea about different things we're doing, but it has its flaws. But with like proper sentiment analysis, costs a lot of money, and it's not something that we think is worth investing at the moment. But it'd be interesting to know if you guys do pay for that. I mean, is anyone currently on a sentiment analysis platform?
I think we are, to tell you the truth, but it's not something that we use within the open book. So, of course, we have a Twitter presence, Google Plus, Facebook, and all of these, but that's our social media team dealing with that. In terms of the community, I look at a lot of different things, and I factor in. I guess this goes back to leveraging what I already know about people. I know that a lot of them don't like to be bombarded by notifications, for example. So if I see something that gets a lot of likes, even though it's a bit superficial, I know that it still matters because they don't like to comment. So if they're liking, they're still acknowledging what is in front of them just without participating, because I know that they don't like getting bombarded by these notifications from different people joining in. But otherwise, I also look quite closely at, I kind of break down the engagers, so the people that are liking versus talking versus, commenting versus starting their own discussions. So for me, I would rather have somebody commenting because that means they're taking part in what other people are talking about rather than just putting up their own message and then disappearing. So there are a lot of ways to break it down, and that's kind of what I do. I just take everything I have available to me, and I kind of try to work my way backwards to see why they would be doing one thing but not the other thing, and how I can maybe kind of sway them into doing the other thing. So that's more or less.
And Annie, there was a question on Twitter about how do you engage, how do you leverage the subject matter experts? Do you leverage the subject matter experts? Do you try to make sure they interact with the newbies? Or
a lot of the time I don't have to. More often than not, when people are coming in, when new clients are joining or registering, they are coming with intent to copy, because that's essentially what eToro is about. So anyway, when they're coming into the community, they have to look around and they have to find people. So generally, they will take a look at, let's say, our most copied users or our most profitable users, or even depending on whatever instruments they're interested in. So we do offer, various different financial instruments, and they are then forced to go look for people. And a lot of the time, we encourage them to interact with these people before they start copying them. So to ask them questions like, what do you foresee happening, or what is your strategy, what is your money management strategy? So a lot of the time we don't have to do anything. I think going back a couple of years, we probably did have to bring these people together more, but now it really is all about the discussions, and because there's so many of them, it's become a bit more competitive. So people like to share information and like to share their own content. So what I'm seeing recently is a lot of our popular investors coming forward and doing their own hangouts or recording their own videos or starting their own blogs that have absolutely nothing to do with us. So it's something really cool to see, them getting involved and updating their copiers and updating their followers, and that's really Nice.
And Annie, to your point, a broader question here. Again, still in order to turn an audience into a community, do you guys see value in off-topic post so that it's not always the boring business focus, but stressing down and talking about something else sometimes?
For me, definitely. I think sometimes finance can get a little boring, so I don't like to keep it, completely on topic all the time. Almost everything that I actually tweeted something the other day about pugs, and I assume everyone thought I was joking, but I wasn't. Pretty much everything I put up, end of the day, recap what's important today, what we're watching out for, what matters, what's going on. I will kind of sum up with, a pug or just something funny just to kind of lighten the mood because it gets people's attention, and it's far more interesting to, at least for me, at least that's what would pull me in, is to see something kind of lighthearted and then have to follow it up with more important things like FYI, such and such is happening in the Eurozone. Or so yeah, for me definitely, I support it 100% to go off topic. What about
Molly,
you?
you too? Oh yeah, off-topic rocks. People like to take it easy.
Yes, even on technical product questions, we've seen people like to illustrate it with memes and funny things, and it goes to a different level.
Molly?
I find when talking about space or something as, even though space is right there, it can be quite abstract to people. So you've got to find a way to sort of relate it to people's daily lives. I can talk about the speed of an asteroid passing us and relate it to, say, the winner of the Tour de France or one of the fastest runners of the Olympics. And by relating it to this, people have a better idea. Of course, they have no idea how fast 888 times the winner of the Tour de France is, but they still have an idea that it's pretty very fast. And when you try and put jokes in something that is not quite relatable, so when you try and relate something to sort of everyday life, it is off topic, but it's still relatable. People can still identify, and it's quite fun actually. It does make something that would be quite difficult to understand in the first place more comprehensible.
Great. Any more comments? Okay, so we'll wrap it up then with our last question, and we only have a few minutes left. We've been talking quite a bit about what to do and how to sort of nurture this, but what are your top tips on what not to do when trying to nurture a community rather than an audience?
Oh, this I could. I would say don't try too hard. Find a balance. It's nice to have a personal touch, but nobody wants you to be their next best friend. Find a balance. When I say don't force things, I think don't beg for Facebook likes, don't beg for Twitter retweets. It's like in Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Find your balance. There is a balance, and once you find that perfect balance, then you've got a good thing going.
Yeah, no stalking. We actually had a great tweet from Ali Greer from San Francisco. You should be sleeping at the time, saying, "Do you really want to always convert an audience into a community?" And that's one of the points. Some people will interact a lot and will want to be engaged. Some others will want to continue to be lurkers, and it's okay. We need to respect them in their way of not engaging.
Anything else, Rafe?
Well, I mean, I think you should be careful with things like retweeting and sort of rehashing other old things, because then it is being too much of an audience because you're just copying other people's work. I mean, to be more of a community, you have to be actually asking questions or commenting on something that's happened in the news or something that's related to your community or the latest conference like CES or whatever. It can't just be, Microsoft has said this and Apple have done that. Otherwise, you they might as well just watch Business Insider. So And so, but that would be my top thing to say. But there isn't any magic formula to keep community going. It's just about trying to work out what they want and what works. And when you find something doesn't work and things go silent, then drop that and go back to what you know works and try and recreate that again and keep going with the people who are key engagers and then get them on board to help you.
Yeah.
I agree. Well said.
I agree 100%. It's all about reading those signals and then kind of moving forward with what you can see they like and then not being afraid to kind of cut out what they don't. Anirban, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I was thinking, this might be an extreme example, but never delete anything on the social web. Sometimes we are driven as moderators to kill stuff and to purify things, but it does more harm than help. Smart people have already seen it on their phones, so never.
Yeah, and screenshots last forever, right? Yeah.
Okay. So we're done with our questions. I did see that Ali Greer did throw in a question on Twitter saying, how would you go about converting an audience into a community anyway? So she did say, would you even want to in every case? But what do you guys think? I mean, how would you go from audience to community setting up?
No, what we said earlier is definitely it's okay for people to still want to listen in and period. That's it. So forcing would actually do more harm than good. So focusing on the top, and I don't know, figures evolve. Of the pyramid, do you want to focus on the top 10% all the way to 50%? It depends on many factors. But the bottom 50% may still want to look around, and that's it. And they will learn, and they will probably share with their friends. Not online, will not see that, but they will share that with their friends, and that's okay. Let's respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I, if I could jump in too, one thing I think is a great way to change it from an audience to a community is by starting to ask those questions. Actually open it up and give them an opportunity to be able to respond. Make it that two-way communication that social is so good for. And I think that's a big thing that really helps sort of make that transition from people just listening to you talk to a conversation you actually get to have. So.
Okay, great.
Annie just wanted to circle back on the meetup thing. People interact far more. Many people in those bottom 50% interact far more on meetups, face-to-face, real life, than online. So it's a great way to have more people engaging, to have face-to-face and beers with them or whatever.
All about that. We're all about getting some drinks together.
Also good Wi-Fi so they can interact.
Awesome. Well,
Wi-Fi
thank you so much, you guys. We really appreciate you pulling together to enlighten everyone today for Community Manager Appreciation Day. Coming up next for everybody watching is what is a community and how can we nurture it? So you can head on over to cmad.co, click on the broadcast schedule, find the next time slot, as well as at any time you can go back to the previous time slots and watch those shows you might have missed if you had to take a nap.
Yeah.
So,
and in the next 7 minutes before the next panel, make sure you get out your phone and get your CMAD selfie up there too, because we want to get to see a bunch of those.
Yeah, so everything over our shoulder here on the television that's coming off of, that's from Zoof, and it's a wide range of hashtags, but definitely all the rich media from hashtag CMAD. So get on our wall and make sure you tweet out your CMAD selfie.
And not just our wall, it's happening in Finland too, really big. So you want to be larger than life.
That's right. All right, guys. We'll see you in the next hour.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.